But that ended up failing. We had to shut down the company. But we worked really well together. So what happened then is that after that, I wanted to learn how to code because I was non-technical at the time. So I went to a coding bootcamp, learned how to code, and became a developer. And at the same time, my co-founder had this programming language. He had built everything like including our previous startup and all of his consultancy gigs. So he had this open source programming language that he wanted to teach other people about. And he got frustrated about the experience of teaching people how to code online. Like, it was so clunky for teachers, and for students it was not interactive, which is how you need to learn how to code. So that's when he reinvented this video format, or this Scrim format, which is kind of like if you take VS Code and YouTube and they have a child, that's kind of Scrimba.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to BBoJS episode 5. I'm really excited how quickly I'm able to get these guests to come talk to you about how they're building businesses on the web. And I've had some of my favorite people on the internet in here. And today I'm having someone I admire the platform, first of all, because of how technical the platform is and how they focus on like you learning stuff. And so I'm excited when I had the opportunity to bring Per. So Per is going to introduce himself in a bit, but how you doing, Per?
Good, thank you. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, awesome. It's really good to have you here, really. So why don't we kick off by you introducing yourself? So you tell us who Per is, um, what you've been doing, why you're here, and most especially a fun fact about you to set the tone. Hello there, friend. So it has come to my attention that about 95% of the people who watch the videos on this channel don't subscribe. My goal is to get that number down to 50%. So if you're watching this video and you've liked it so far, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. I would really appreciate if you do. Now let's get back into the video.
Totally. So yeah, my name is Per. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Scrimba, which is an online code learning platform that teaches people coding in a different way than most of other platforms out there, as we have reinvented the video format from scratch, making it interactive. So we are about 10, 12 people now, have 1.5 million users and over 10,000 customers. And yeah, fun fact about myself: I'm from Oslo, Norway, and I sing in a men's choir.
Oh wow. Awesome. That's amazing fun fact. I'm also a bit of a musician myself. I play the piano
Oh, really?
in my church. So yeah, that's an awesome fun
Awesome.
fact. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I don't think I've had anyone from Norway on the show. So, but that's fun.
Mhm.
Nice to have you here,
Happy to
Per.
be the
So,
first.
yes, I like it. Yeah. So before we talk about Scrimba, which you mentioned, and how you all are reinventing the video format, I have a ton of question on that line alone because from I think I've probably like more than half a decade I've known about Scrimba, right? And I've always been blown at what you all have been doing. But before we get there, I want to go back to like some origin stories. Like, how did you like? What was the timeline leading up to you getting on Scrimba? Like, what is your background like? Like, how did it all start before Scrimba? Take us as far back as you can.
All right, yeah, we can go all the way to the origin.
Yeah.
It started actually with me and the CTO of Scrimba. He is Sindre. He's actually the inventor of the Scrimba format and the technical brain behind Scrimba and the format. So we did a
Mm.
startup over 10 years ago where we created kids apps on iPad and fairy tales and games and stuff like that. But that ended up failing. We had to shut down the company. But we worked really well together. So what happened then is that after that, I wanted to learn how to code because I was non-technical at the time. So I went to a coding bootcamp, learned how to code, and became a developer. And at the same time, my co-founder had this programming language. He had built everything in, like including our previous startup and all of his consultancy gigs. So he had this open source programming language that he wanted to teach other people about. And he got frustrated about the experience of teaching people how to code online. Like, it was so clunky for teachers, and for students it was not interactive, which is how you need to learn how to code. So that's when he reinvented this video format, or this Scrim format, which is kind of like if you take VS Code and YouTube and they have a child, that's kind of Scrimba. And at that time, I had become a developer, and I was really passionate about teaching people how to kind of turn their lives around and how to get a new career in development just by using a few months learning how to code. So Sindre and I were like, I have this passion about teaching people how to code and helping people break into tech. And Sindre has this super cool video format, which is perfect for teaching people how to code. So we were like, okay, how about we get together again and start a company around this? And then we did. We're able to raise some money in 2017. And the rest is history.
That's such a beautiful story right there. Like, I love when, you find a problem for, like, you have a problem for yourself, and then you could just extrapolate it into like this thing that other people, because again, like, I think all startup law is that, like, we are not that unique. So if you have a problem, if like there's a problem with you learning via the traditional video format, then obviously there are other people who would have that problem. And I think the whole VS Code and YouTube having a child thing was what blew my mind when I found Scrimba. Even up to today, like, I was doing a bit of research, and I saw the platform again. I was like, I feel you all are the only one doing this. I don't see anything else mainstream that does this. And it's so mind-boggling, like the thought process of, like, not you're not following the status quo anymore. So that is really something that I'm really interested in. So, like, when did you know that you have something worth pursuing? Yeah, because of course, like you said, because I know a lot of video course makers. I do videos as well, and most times we have to invent a lot of things for, like, course workshops, um um like practice materials and stuff, like, just to make sure that the learning experience is immersive enough. Like, at what point do you know that? Like, did you know that, okay, with this thing that we've invented, this little language could be something that can be really good for most people?
Yeah, no, it wasn't exactly obvious that it would be that Scrimba would be what it is today back when we started, because this format it could help people in so many different situations, or at least that was our hypothesis. So we looked at, like, helping in classrooms, physical classrooms. We looked at API documentation, internal dev teams, and also this being a course platform as well. And we tried all of these different directions to a certain degree, and didn't really, actually, to be honest, get much success in the beginning. So it wasn't until we've wandered around for 9 months, trying a little bit here, a little bit there. Let's just go all in one direction. It wasn't until that we really got traction, and that we got the confirmation from the community and the users that we were actually onto something. And that was when we created the CSS Grid course. That was late 2017. And our graph, just after we launched that, just shot up. So, like, day and night. So it took some time before we really managed to get that success. And the kind of the lesson there was that the Scrim format in itself wasn't enough to get good traction. We needed to actually build out the content and show people how to use this as best as possible for learning. And over the years, we even had multiple periods where we tried, weren't really sure if the potential for monetization even was there in online learning. So we tried some other things as well. But also when we doubled down further on creating courses and also charging for courses, we just always got the confirmation from the users that yes, this is something they want, which came through like usage and revenue. So that's kind of how we found our way towards
Yeah.
creating Scrimba to what it is today.
Yeah, like that is so spot on because I've always said like um usability or practicality is always going to trump tech. Like because again, tech we do is you have to apply it to something. So even if the Scrimba platform itself, it's an amazing piece of tech, it's definitely not going to. It's more on like what are you going to apply this to? What courses are the courses you're making interesting to people, and the way you have your outline. Who is interested in taking these courses? And then the tech will be like, what is enabling this?
Yeah, that's a great point, and we saw that as well. Actually, to the degree where every time we created a longer, more comprehensive course, our success just
Mhm.
increased. So
Mm.
almost like the number of hours a course had was like turned out to be really important for like our monetization and traction.
Yeah. So
Because people
speaking
they
of
want to
long,
learn. If you want to learn something, you really want to you want to gain a new skill, or ideally gain a skill that uh, changes something in your career, and that just can't be done in like a 30-minute course or 1 hour course.
yeah, so spot on. You would think that like as you mentioned, like longer form courses because I've had Ken Dods on the show and we like Ken Dods makes like lot of hours of courses, right? And people still take it. Like I think he said, like he's made over like millions of dollars from those sort of courses. And you think that with the whole, trend of short form videos and really, really fast food kind of videos, people won't be much interested in like longer form courses. But I don't think that's true, right? Like, how do you think about it? Like, has the trend of those that who need long form content go down in any way?
Yeah. So first of all, when we create these long form courses, we always break them into tiny pieces. So ideally, I think
Yeah, of
we're
course.
aiming for like 3 to 5 minute long scrims. They go above 5 minutes, and ideally, at least not over like 7 to 10 minutes. That we try to shed away from that all times, even though it's a really complicated topic we're teaching. So splitting it
Mm.
into that, and also giving people challenges. So in almost every single scrim, you'll be forced to get your hands on the keyboard and write some code yourself. Because I do think it is like a problem or a challenge that people are used to TikTok and Netflix, where they're entertained all the time. And we have to cater to that kind of short attention span. But also, I
Mm.
think it's okay to create a long course if you lay it out in a good way. And by that, I mean, if you don't focus on the theory you are to teach, but rather focus on the uh, project that they will be able to build once they've completed this. So kind of give them like, oh, in just like a few scrims, you'll be able to build like in Chrome extension or a little AI app or something super cool. And that is the focus of the course. And the learning objectives and the theory, they are just like a convenient side effect of going through that path and getting that skill and building that cool project. And when we started out, I think like all courses had it the opposite way around. They were like, oh, you're going to
Mm.
learn JavaScript. Well, here's the data types and methods and functions and arrays and blah, blah, blah. Like boring stuff you don't care about. So we try really hard to flip it on its head and only focus on like, the growth you experience as a developer. And I think that makes a difference, especially when there's like long courses that, hours and hours, but which are necessary because it is complicated stuff that takes time to learn.
Yeah, definitely. I think the making long videos centered on what you're going to build instead of like theories, because I feel with theories you probably could learn it if from the docs as well. But if I'm gonna like watch like a 6 hours worth of like a course, I probably want to be like at the end of the day, because there's have to be. So I'm currently reading a book on marketing, so a lot of marketing terms are still fresh in my head. They've got to be like a perceived outcome, like
Yeah,
this is why I'm gonna stick around this long, right? So if there's no perceived outcome, if I'm just gonna learn a bunch of theories that I don't know how they fit, like anytime someone asks me online, like this part of JavaScript is add like loops, or when should I use for versus while, I'll be like, what project were you trying to build with it? Because I feel like
yeah,
once you learn things in a context of how you're gonna apply, like even with music, it you could learn your scales and everything. But if you're not learning music in the context of a song, they're just scales and arpeggios, right? So I really love like that. At the end of the day, this is what you're going to build, and it's makes it worthwhile because context matters a lot. And like you say, when you learn concepts from the context of a project, it makes it stick better because you know that okay, in this context is when I'm going to use a for loop. In this context is when I'm going to use an if. But if I just teach you what an if is, an if it's a branching chain in programming. What does that even mean? Why is it branching? Like those kind of things going to come to your head. But definitely, if it's in the context of a project, it makes more sense. So I definitely like it.
yeah. And I think that analogy of like music and learning a song instead of a scale is really good. Not because just that, like project versus theory, but also the importance of learning a song you really enjoy listening to yourself, because that gives you that inner motivation. I just remember myself when I learned to play the guitar. It was like uh, when I just saw someone play Red Hot Chili Peppers, a song, my friend play that, I was like instantly, oh, I want to learn that. That's so cool to play. Whereas like I tried before to like learn a little bit, but I didn't have like the internal motivation to actually learn it. So that
Mm,
is so important. So when you're learning to code, I think also it's if you can somehow hook it onto like your interest. Like if you're a Manchester United fan, you can build a United website, or if you build something that speaks to you as a person. So we try
mm,
that on Scrimba to always like personalize, like find a way to tweak this project to you so that you get that inner motivation.
mm. Yeah, for sure. So speaking about personalized, like what are your students or the developers using Scrimba saying about the platform? Because I think it's great as someone like who have tried to use it a couple of times, but like, what are they telling you? Like, what are they learning, and what are they telling you on like how different it is from the experience, and making sure, of course, mastery, like making them improve their skill level and all.
No, this is gonna sound like bragging, but they are just
Please brag.
anonymously super excited. Like we get that's the such a grateful job to have, because we just get so much positive feedback on Twitter, Reddit, our community, on email, like wherever people see it. It's just like almost 99.9% positive, and very often like,
Mm,
holy shit, I almost gave up learning how to code. I didn't think I could manage it, but then I came to Scrimba and suddenly everything clicked. Like there's just and so
mm,
mind blowing is very often like a GIF. People share these mind blowing GIFs, and that brain explode, and like so many positive experiences. And I think like um, that probably it's kind of a biased person, or a group of people that do that. That's the ones we really speak to, of course. But of course, there are also people who just like to learn via text, and that's fine.
mm,
That's and I don't want, and I think our videos are too maybe a bit too slow at times, and that is perfectly fine. I think as a platform, you really need to pick your audience. Who do you want to be the best thing in the world for? And that will alienate some others who won't be so excited about it, but it will make those who really use it super excited. And that's just what we see like every day.
that is true, really. Like, a quote comes to mind, which is the best way to fail is to try to please everybody. Because it's everyone gonna, so you have to find your audience or like your fan, like just the same thing with music. Like when if I listen to a kind of artist, I sort of like know what to expect from that artist. Like I don't expect like this person to be the same as that other person, like, but I like them for a reason, right? So folks gonna like Scrimba for a reason. So those people who are telling you like you're literally changing their lives and how they learn and how they upskill should definitely be like a good focus for you, right? So
Yeah.
I let me go through a couple of like my scan questions. Um so I see you mentioned the language. Like, do you like? Let's talk about the language because I think it's open source, right? But I don't think it has enough love because I've had someone on my other podcast who made a tech that was influenced by Imba, which I think is the language name, right? So let's talk about this language. Like, what is it? Like, what is this language that enabled this amazing platform that
Yeah.
they've loved to learn from?
So Imba is the language that underpins Scrimba. So Scrimba has its name from Imba, and
Mm,
the name Imba actually comes from gaming. Gaming. If you are Imba, you're kind of imbalanced. And I'm not a gamer myself, so I don't really know. I've never used that phrase myself. But it's apparently then you are really good or epic or like much better than the competition or something like that. So,
mm,
and Imba is that in many ways. It is super fast. It has some ideas around how to render stuff on the page, which outperforms the other alternatives uh, to a pretty significant degree. So that is built for building performant web apps. That's it. I won't go too much into the technical details about that. And I don't know, to be honest, the inner workings of Imba. I've just written kind of a bit of it myself throughout the years. But
mm,
it is really fast, and it's also quite elegant to write and fast to write. So it's fast in two ways. Both you build very performant apps, but it's also the syntax is very, very sparse. It is it was originally created because my co-founder Sindra, he wanted to use Ruby in the browser. So he liked the kind of the elegance of Ruby and not the clutterness of JavaScript and all the syntax. So that kind of tells you about a little bit about the direction it has taken, like syntax wise.
mm.
So you'll find it's pretty neat looking and indentation based. And
Oh,
also now we've
so
built actually a full framework around Imba, which makes it actually super fast to knock out features and build apps essentially. So I think you're right. It has too little love. It could be
yeah.
so much bigger than it is today, but it's a hard sell to tell someone that they actually have to swap JavaScript with something else, because that's actually what it is. It compiles to JavaScript and runs both on the front end and back end, so in browsers and in Node. So it's I think people are hesitant towards swapping, but with those who do, really, as with Scrimba, really tend to go all in and love it.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. There's always going to be like your crowd, right? And so I think I should, because I've heard about it, but I've not had the chance. So probably what will happen is probably going to have your CTO over in my technical podcast
Do
where
it.
we're going to like
Yes.
use Imba because I want to see it, and the folks who watch the channel will see it too, and they make up their mind because this thing is just like, this is what I do. Look, it's more like this is what I like, and they see it and they make up their mind, okay, and this
You
is
should,
what I've
and
built with what I like. Yeah, god.
yeah, no, no. I think what would be super interesting is having him on YouTube live stream or something, and just like live
Hmm.
build something, and he can show you how fast it is to prototype and build apps with this.
Hmm. I think we should do it because I've been thinking of a TKYT live. That might just be the first one, so this might just be the start of
Perfect.
something, but I'm definitely
Yeah.
interested because I know the Ruby syntax. I'm not a big I'm a big JavaScript person, or true, I love JavaScript, but
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to really see. And people who like Ruby will definitely appreciate it more if we just push it more to them. So definitely, I'm looking forward to doing that. So I see. Let's riff on the technicality a little bit. I see there was um b- a V2 rewrite because of course I've been doing my
Yeah.
homework. What led to that? And like let's just walk through like why the V2, like was it infrastructure, was it more UX benefits, or was it like it's time for a change?
So that was definitely on to as it's as deep of a rewrite as you can get it, because the underlying programming language actually got an update to Imba 2 in this process.
Mm.
And to be
Oh,
honest, it's
okay.
taken us years to do this, 4 years to rewrite Scrimba, which is just like any any uh, investor or advisor would tell us to. You cannot spend that much time rewriting your app. That's just like silly. But I think it's not. I think it was the right move to do, because now we have rebuilt Scrimba in a way that allows us to run insanely much faster than we could before. So we've essentially rebuilt the entire architecture of the app, and we are shipping features. Have a product velocity which is 10x what it was before. So from here on, it'll be a huge benefit, or this is a huge benefit for us. And
Mm.
so for our users, it involved a pretty significant UI change. That's like the thing they've seen so far, in addition to like features been churning out much faster. But when we flipped the switch, it was like, what is this new UI? Why is it so different? And there's a good reason for that as well, why we changed the UI of it. Yeah, it's someone said it was an Olympic scale rewrite, since we spent 5 years like Olympic period. But yeah, it's makes us run much faster, I guess. It's the machine that builds the machine, you could say, that we have recreated now.
Mm. Yeah, it's awesome. So the um, that was quite a while to take it, but I like stable tech. So because in the JavaScript world, we like, I don't know, we move too quickly. Like we always, every other 6 months something new. But I like a tech that is stable enough. So for it's been working, and to think that you took you like what 5 years to get to V2, the platform was working, people were taking their courses, everyone was happy. It
Yeah.
like you didn't need a fresh coat of paint every 3 months. It shows stability, which is a factor I admire. So it's good to infer that Imba is not the only thing in your stack. Do you want to just give us an idea like what's powering, in deployment, backend, everything you use for, if you could share, for like that powers scrimba.com. Yeah, with the
Yeah, so
V2.
Imba is both on the front end and the back end.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Oh
so
wow.
it compiles to JavaScript, and JavaScript that can be used, but it is Node then under the hood.
Nice.
And we also have our own framework, which is called OP, which is kind of a data layer between the back end and front end, and takes care of syncing data, and yeah, just updating the DOM, and lots of other different things. And as a database, we use Postgres.
Mm, yeah, I love Postgres.
Yeah.
I love Postgres too. Yeah, that's okay. So where are you deployed at? AWS?
So no, so actually we do not use we do not use the cloud either. We use a dedicated server.
So now let's talk about business. Like, how has business been because this is build business on JavaScript. Like, how is the business structure of this? Ergo, how do you make money on Scrimba? I see you all are backed by YC. Is it true?
Correct.
YC
Yeah.
since when? Yeah, from the
So that
beginning.
was summer 2020.
Mhm.
So that's
Okay.
4 years ago now, and before that we had three-ish years. So
Oh.
we raised some money at the very beginning from Nordic investors, and then we did some projects as well where we got some soft funding. Then we got into YC and raised a little bit of money after YC as well. Much less. We've
Mm.
raised much less than our peers in batchmates in Y Combinator. So we've kind of taken I would say it's a mix between bootstrapping and the VC route. So we have some investors, but we've been ever since we started monetizing in 2019, we've been very focused on that. And we just like enjoy making our own money as opposed to raising money and spending other people's money. It's just like it's part of the fun is building a business that is profitable. That's to
Yeah.
me at least. So
To me too.
yeah, exactly. So and then the structure around it, or the business model, is that we charge our users for pro subscriptions, where they get access to all of our content and various other things. And now we're at around 10,000 paying subscribers all over the world
Mm.
that pay very on average around yeah, or what is it? Actually, an average doesn't really matter, but they our tagline has been since the beginning, like the quality of Stanford at the price of a gym membership. So
Mm.
we charge, we do purchase power parity, charging according to what is affordable for a user in any given country.
Mm. That's amazing, really. Yeah, like I love what you say about making your own money because it's not popular. It's very easy to raise a lot of money, but I really like that angle, and it's sort of like the risk you a bit like when you raise less and you aim for profit. You don't have a lot of pressure. You just build you then, because since your users are paying you, you probably have to prioritize them more. I love it.
Yeah, and I think also it's a factor that makes you or that it forces you to. It's a forcing factor to have you prioritize and spend time on the important things. Because if you don't do that, the funding falls, or your funding, which is your customer, leaves. Which forces you to build what they want. Had we
Mm.
raised $10 million, then we could have wasted a lot more money and a lot more focus, which is even more important to keep narrow on other
Mm.
directions which weren't rooted in the customer need. So I think it actually
Mm.
builds better businesses if you focus on revenue as opposed to raising money.
I totally agree. So speaking on focus, like what's important for, because I see you all have passed 1.5 million users since inception. Like what's important? Because first of all, congratulations, that's like a huge
Thank
milestone.
you.
But what's important for Scrimba right now as a company, as a product? Like what's the next milestone? Like what are you working on right now?
So we are working on backend support, which has been something our users have been wanting for a long time, obviously, because we've only been teaching front end up until now. But now we are soon ready to launch backend support, which is super
Mm.
important to create full stack developers. Also, we do a lot of we're in kind of a research and development phase as well with Scrimba 2.0 and how we are to integrate that with AI. That is something
Mm.
that we're going to see a ton of interesting things happen over the years in the community or in the industry, of course, as it is. And we will definitely implement that into Scrimba as well in, I think, very interesting and in innovative ways. Um, Also, it's just about actually teaching developers about AI as well. Is a big thing we've done over the last year, like giving them the AI engineering skills so that they can go ahead and build AI powered products as well. That's a big focus. And also back to the essentials, like how do we just continue ensuring that Scrimba is the best and most pleasant platform for growing your skills as a developer and experimenting with code and yeah, gaining an edge in your career.
So one question. So what would you say? Because I think it was Jeff Bezos that said you should focus on what wouldn't change. In the business
Yeah.
of teaching developers, like what do you think you're gonna focus on that won't change? Like for the next 10 years, it won't change and you could just keep hammering on it. Like for Amazon, it's like no one will want their stuff to be delivered longer than expected, right? So like what is that, like what are those things that won't change for a business like Scrimba that you wanna keep doing and getting better at?
Yeah, so I love that phrase actually. He said that people want like it goes never, and it will never go out of fashion to get something fast and cheap and with good customer
Mm-hmm.
service. And I think
Yeah.
for learning platforms, the same things, or at least speed and product quality, has been just neglected, in my opinion, by so many players in this industry. Like, for example, like if you click around and play with some of the other, both like developer tools, I think, and learning platforms, they are surprisingly slow and lacking on performance, and they are surprisingly clunky to use. And there's just we think just in the raw like core UX and performance of these apps and of Scrimba, there's a lot to gain, which never will go out of fashion. So essentially, as I said,
Mm.
like doubling down on the essentials is a huge part. That's kind of a little bit why we spent so much time rebuilding Scrimba. We wanted to be able to build something that just never lags and feels magical in the sense of its usability and interactivity. And like where the rest of the industry has just purely accepted that regular videos, which aren't interactive at all, uh, is the only. That's how far we could they could push the envelope. Maybe with
Mm.
like you throw an editor in after the video where you can solve a challenge. We have just like no, the Scrim format, which is this magical. You can jump in at any point. It's super lightweight, and the surrounding platform should be integrated with that format as well, so that the experience going in and out of it is seamless as well. Like those kinds of things, those usability things and performance yeah, bottlenecks is, I think, something
Mm.
that will just continue to focus on, and people will never be like it will never go out of fashion.
Mm. I love it. I love it really. No one would want to
Okay.
use a slow learning platform. I love it. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
So we're gonna
They're all slow.
yeah.
So, and even so many IDEs, online IDEs out there, are so painfully slow. We are going to work very hard to ensure Scrimba never becomes that.
Mm, I love it. I'm really wishing you all the best of work on it. And you all are doing a great already. I don't think you need me to wish you luck. You're doing awesome. You just need
I'll
to
take all the
you're
best
doing
wishes I can
awesome.
get.
Yeah, awesome. So so yeah, like what have you learned? This is my last question. This has been an amazing session, but I'll keep it in the pocket. Like what have you learned in all your years in business and the business of educating developers? Like what lessons have you learned that you want to share?
Like on teaching, or just like general lessons from the years at Scrimba?
Yeah. Yeah, business and teaching. I like because you're building a business around teaching developers. Like, what lessons have you learned on that?
Yeah. So there's a few, I guess, which is that. So I have a tendency myself to just be really impatient and just want to throw things out there and experiment and, yeah, throw things on the wall. Going back to kind of the start of Scrimba, when we didn't have much traction, like before we launched that CSS Grid course, I it kind of surprised, I got the lesson again and again that the more effort we put, consolidated effort we put into doing one thing, the better off is, or the better are the results. Like, and in an like a magnitude, order of magnitude difference. Like, you can spend 10 hours on 10 different things, or 10 hours on one thing, and that one thing will do 100 times better than all these other 10 experiments. So I think going all in something is just really important. If your focus is too wide on too many things, I've just like never experienced much results from that. Even though kind of I as I started Scrimba, I was very into kind of the lean startup methodology and the learn fast and fail, and like if you haven't launched too early, if you're not embarrassed about what you've launched too late, and all these kinds of common wisdom, which sounds like it makes sense, but in just my experience, it just doesn't work. I've never made that work particularly well. So that's a lesson. Go all in a direction. Which, of course, with these types of advice, it's always dependent upon the context. So for some other situations, it might not be applicable. I just don't think there is like much general startup advice to give, to be honest, because everything is so context dependent.
Yeah.
But and another thing I would say as well is, which I think a lot of the products or companies are afraid of, is charge as early as possible. Which because we wasted a lot of time not charging money for our courses, and that was a mistake. We should. It's very tempting to not charge for your product, because then you'll get the raw or the true intelligence from the market telling you that your product sucks. No one wants to pay for it, so it's painful to do. It's scary to do, but that's really how you get the data back. So we could have saved, I think, a year of Scrimba worth of work at Scrimba had we just been bolder at charging earlier. So yeah, I guess that's my two takeaways.
I think I love it. I really love it a lot, especially the fact of, if you're not embarrassed with what you ship too late. I feel at a certain point things get taken to either to the worst extreme or the best extreme, And the perfect acronym I like about MVPs, especially because we building businesses who want like get my MVPs out there. I like what the term from I think he's the CEO of SmartBear and also WP Engine. It said it should be SLC, which is simple, lovable, and complete, right? Because you're making an MVP does not mean you should burden your user with crappy stuff. At least the very version, like it's just like the whole, like that meme of like when you're building an MVP, do you build do you just give them the car wheels? Then next you give them the car wheels and the body of the car without no roof? Or do you give them like a bicycle first, then maybe like a scooter next, then a car, right? So
Exactly.
I like that other one better. So
no, totally agree, and I like that minimum, lovable, complete, or what it was. I think it's
simple, lovable, and complete. Yeah.
Simple, lovable, yes. And
Yeah.
I think it's changed also over the years. Like now, there's much more indie hacking and founders launching products in the world than it was maybe like 10, 15 years ago when the lean startup movement got started. So it definitely, like, you have to update the methodology to the what it's like on ground right now. And I think also with these things, it is dependent on the person. Like if you're a person that is really good at making super polished, great, complete products, like you're just a great engineer and designer, like then that is definitely, I think, lean into that. If you're a fabulous, fantastic marketer, maybe you can throw out something which isn't that complete or that lovable, but you can get the traction anyway. So again, going back to advice being context specific or depend on the circumstances is something I think founders should think about. Never trust someone who gives you advice without like asking you questions first and trying to figure out who are you and what are your strengths and what are you aiming for and stuff like that.
Yeah, true. Because most things are contextual. Like anytime someone asks me for an advice, I am always slow to give like a generic answer because everything like there's no most time people also want duality, A versus B, or like something just as simple as this versus the other. But life is nuanced. Everything is contextual. Everything has pros and cons. So which one would work for you, and at what point in time? Because I think one factor on advice is also the time factor that gets not so much emphasized, because an advice could work at the early stage of your business. Like I had the CEO of Ghost here, and we both agree that you can um at the very beginning of starting something be ignorant. You can afford to be ignorant because you need that ignorance to not like to be able to forge ahead even though you don't have all the answers. But as you're forging ahead, when you start serving people, you have to replace that ignorance with competence, right? Because at the long run, quality is something that people would not be like, I want a crappy website. No one's gonna say I want a crappy website.
Yeah,
No one is gonna say that. So you have to improve, you have to replace your ignorance at the timeline of okay, this is past the stage of getting started. Now you're serving people, you have to replace it with quality. And so the time factor is also something very important. So yeah.
totally.
Um Yeah, awesome. So we this has been fun, really. I really love it. So we're gonna ask you our top 3 questions I ask every founder here.
Right.
Which is your top 3 books, top 3 movies, and top 3 podcasts. So we're gonna start with books because I know founders read a lot. So what did you read?
So, what are you looking for? Like books, founder books, or like
Any book, like
or books in
anything you
general?
read, because I think we could learn from almost any book. So whatever books you want to share, that's your top 3, cutting across founder books, fiction, anything you read that you want to share is fine.
Okay, yeah. So I'll start with like fiction. I
Okay.
read a lot of books. I use it to fall asleep every night. So it's kind of my helps me calm down for the evening. And I think that is a really important thing to do as a founder. Turn off your brain, like ideally a couple of hours before you go to bed. Otherwise, at least
Mm.
me, I'll just continue spinning, and I ruin the next day. So I would recommend the 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 one which recently became a Netflix series, The Three Body Problem. That is a trilogy
Mm.
of like hard sci-fi, which I just blew my mind. It's so epic and insane. And if you love like aliens and the universe and how the universe will evolve, and like it's just crazy, and yeah, super cool. That's the
Okay.
trilogy.
Okay.
I guess it's 3 books, but I guess yeah. And as for business books, yeah, so that was a trilogy of fiction books. But as for business books, I don't think I have a single one I would recommend, to be honest. I've read many of them,
Mm.
and they all make a lot of sense. No one has really changed how I run Scrimba, to be honest.
What are your top 3 movies?
Yeah, so I'm, as everyone else, a big Game of Thrones fan. I think that was one of the best series I've seen. I also love Christopher Nolan, so his films, at least like the ones, probably not the last few films, but like Interstellar and Inception, so
Mm.
just so good.
Inception, yeah.
Yeah,
Love them too.
they really make you think.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's I also tons of I'm a TV series. I love TV series, so uh, probably what got me hooked onto TV series. I think the most epic experience after Game of Thrones, I think, was Breaking Bad. Just such a
Oh, nice.
cool story of someone really changing as a person, going completely mental. Yeah, so
Mm.
2 series and
Awesome.
2 films there.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, finally, the podcast you listen to.
I listen to so many podcasts. Use it like all the time. So let me actually look here. So I love listening to like business podcasts, podcasts about economics and the markets. I invest a little bit in the stock markets. I'm into that. Like, so just looking at this from my list here, I have Pod Save the World. I have New York Times The Daily. I have Syntax, developer podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and Shifter, a really good Norwegian podcast, which is probably isn't interesting at all for your listeners, but it's from the Norwegian startup ecosystem. Tim Ferriss, yeah, bunch of classics there, or regular ones, which
Mm-hmm.
is quite popular. So I guess
Nice.
markets and business and kind of society is what I listen to podcasts for.
Mm. Yeah, I think I listened to a couple of those, but probably not the first one. I'm definitely gonna check that out. So thank you so much, Per. This has been really amazing. So finally, what would you say to a budding, young, thriving entrepreneur who want to build businesses on the internet, maybe like a learning business or something else? Like, what would you tell them?
Yeah, so it's a marathon, not a sprint, and it's not even it's even more than a marathon. It's like a never-ending marathon. It just takes forever. Everything takes longer than you expect. So be patient, and it's okay if your first idea fails. That's what happened to me. That's how it is
Mm.
in this industry. And yeah, make sure you ship stuff, get things out into the world. Don't hide from reality, and ship things and charge for it.
Mm. Awesome. I like it. Thank you so much. This has been an amazing session. Thank you for sharing your business on the internet wisdom with us. Thank you, Per.
Thank you. Great to be here. Cheers.
Yeah.